Welcome to this Bluesign e-learning course. This training will give you an overview and basic information about the Bluesign criteria to allow you to select the specific criteria documents relevant for you. It will introduce to you the Bluesign system, explain the structure, development, and revision of the Bluesign criteria so that finally you will have an overview and the basic understanding. The document defining the very basis for the work of Bluesign and the basic idea of the Bluesign system is called the Bluesign system. Please click the arrow to continue. It all started with the basic question: what does it take to manufacture textiles in a responsible and sustainable manner and protect people, environment and resources? This goal can only be reached in a collaborative manner, with many partners working in the same system, with the same goals. The necessary approach must be a holistic one. It should include all major aspects of sustainability relevant to the production of textiles. The necessary details of this approach are collected in the Bluesign criteria. Bluesign unites chemical suppliers, manufacturers and brands as partners in the Bluesign system, with the goal of sustainable textile production. All partners are subject to category-specific assessments before they become fully integrated Bluesign system partners and can label their products. Let's have a closer look at the Bluesign criteria. Please click the arrow to continue. As already mentioned, it all starts with the system, the basic document which summarizes the basic goals, scope, methodologies of assessment, and procedure for Bluesign and its system partners. The Bluesign glossary gives information about important definitions and abbreviations necessary for a correct understanding and interpretation of the criteria. For all factories and manufacturing operations, the Bluesign criteria for production sites list the basic and general requirements. Since specific manufacturing operations and processes have their very distinct requirements, the criteria for production sites are accompanied by a series of annexes which specify these details for different branches and processes. Here, the 12 annexes to the Bluesign criteria for production sites are shown. The exclusion criteria define serious issues which affect the system partnership or prevent companies from becoming a system partner before the issue is solved. The annex, chemical supplier, summarizes special aspects and requirements for companies of the chemical industry. The annex, textile manufacturer, summarizes the special requirements for textile manufacturing. The processing of down and feathers is dealt with in the annex, down and feathers. The requirements for the manufacturing of various fibers are compiled in the annex, fiber manufacturing. The annex, leather production, compiles requirements for tanneries and leather-producing companies. For garment factories and assemblers, the annex, garment manufacturer and assembler, gives further information. For the surface treatment of non-textile substrates, that is metal and plastics, the requirements are summarized in a separate annex. For all operations which involve significant amounts of organic solvents, specific requirements are compiled in the annex, VOC management. Finally, the annexes, rating criteria and the rating matrices for manufacturers and chemical suppliers give information on the Bluesign rating approach for production sites. The Bluesign criteria for converters define requirements on the management system and especially the traceability in converters' operations. The criteria for brands define requirements for brand system partners for their management system, supply chain management, including social and environmental responsibility and compliance management, as well as product design. One of the core elements of the Bluesign system is the assessment and rating of chemical products with the help of the Bluesign tool and the Bluesign chemical assessment experts. All positively rated chemicals are listed in the Bluesign finder. The background and general principles of the sophisticated assessment procedures are explained in the Bluesign criteria for chemical assessment. For approved chemical products and articles for industrial and commission processes, as well as for Bluesign approved chemical products for end consumer use. For example, care products and their specific application situation at the consumer, specific additional requirements are defined in the respective criteria. Additionally, the requirements for Bluesign product are collected in a separate criteria document. So brands have to work with a detailed bill of materials and safeguard non-Bluesign approved components by an additional RSL approach including testing. In addition to the already mentioned criteria, which define the mandatory requirements as well as goals for the system partners, Bluesign offers a number of guidelines and guidance sheets to the system partners, which give further detailed advice on specific topics and support a responsible textile production. All these documents together define a holistic set of requirements and rules to support system partners on their way to sustainable production. Of course, local and national rules and regulations have to be followed in any case by all companies. Since the company assessments for manufacturers and chemicals suppliers described in the Bluesign criteria for production sites, as well as the brand assessment based on the Bluesign criteria for brands, are a prerequisite for a Bluesign system partnership, we will now have a closer look at these documents. Please click the arrow to continue. The Bluesign company assessment comprises a thorough assessment of documents. For example, management documents and measuring reports, as well as a thorough on-site assessment of the production site in scope by experienced Bluesign experts. The assessment covers resources and raw materials, chemical substances and products, the occupational health and safety situation, emissions to air and water, as well as final product-related aspects. The assessment results in a comprehensive audit report, which includes a chemical assessment report, company rating and a roadmap for continual improvement. In general, production sites of system partners shall strive for having no harmful impact on humans, animals, plants, soils, the aquatic system, or the atmosphere. This means a high level of human health and environmental protection is required, and companies shall be aware of best available techniques for their operations. The criteria for production sites deal with basic requirements for resource productivity, management systems, product stewardship, input stream management, chemicals change management, social responsibility, emergency preparedness, occupational health and safety, handling and storage of hazardous materials, and emissions. Besides the requirements of the criteria for production sites, chemical suppliers have to regard additional branch-specific criteria. One focal area at chemical suppliers is product stewardship. Please click the arrow to continue. Product stewardship means taking responsibility for the manufactured products, with the aim of minimizing any negative impact they may exert on the health and safety of workers or consumers, or on the environment. This means knowing about the inputs of production and their critical impurities, knowing about the processes and reactions, as well as origins of unwanted byproducts, and knowing about the properties of the final product, as well as passing on all relevant information to suppliers and customers. By ensuring reliable information is passed along the supply chain, the best possible product quality and a high level of environmental and health protection can be assured. Please click the arrow to continue. With the application of product stewardship at the chemical supplier, a good basis for sustainable and responsible production on the next level of the supply chain is given. Reliable information allows for a rating of chemicals, which facilitates input stream management efforts at downstream textile manufacturers significantly. Input stream management includes defining sourcing and purchasing responsibilities and criteria or specifications, establishing a supplier management, creation of control procedures for incoming materials, conducting raw material controls, for example, through testing, using Bluesign approved chemical products from Bluesign Finder. Managing the chemicals at the production site in a responsible way is then the goal of chemicals management. It starts with a clear definition of responsibilities. A basic requirement for managing the chemicals properly is then to get an overview on the types and amounts of chemicals typically present at the site. Here, typically a chemical inventory list is used. In order to preserve quality, reduce risks and facilitate authorized access to chemicals, then typically a storage concept defines which types and amounts of chemicals can be stored together and which suitable storage facilities these chemicals are assigned to. Bluesign further supports this tasks with the guidance sheet, Chemicals Management and Chemicals Change Management at Manufacturers. The Bluesign Finder in the simple color-coded rating blue and gray makes the selection of good chemical products much easier and supports the textile manufacturer in optimizing his chemical portfolio over time. This leads to a significant reduction of compliance risks. The basic requirements for all types of production sites are compiled in the Bluesign criteria for production sites. Please click the arrow to continue. Social responsibility is an indispensable aspect of sustainable production. Here, the Bluesign approach is based on the well-established conventions of the International Labour Organization. Among other aspects, it is necessary that the employment is freely chosen by the employees, that the freedom of associations and the right for collective bargaining are respected and protected. Child labor and discrimination cannot be accepted at Bluesign system partners. Furthermore, women are to be treated as equal and pregnancy shall be protected. To anchor all the important business practices properly in a company, Bluesign requires the partners to have a management system established and regularly maintained. This system shall cover important aspects of quality management, environmental management, resource conservation and energy management, occupational health and safety management, and chemicals management. The management system shall include a company policy, a clear allocation of responsibilities and resources, measurable objectives, a general plan do check act-based approach verified by audits, a commitment to continual improvement, go through annual review by the top management. In terms of resource productivity, the Bluesign criteria aim at the lowest possible use of chemicals and raw materials. This requires the selection of appropriate processes, chemicals and their continual optimization. A system partner shall also define water conservation as goal in the corporate policy and optimize the freshwater use. For the provision of energy, environmentally friendly fuel types shall be selected and the use of renewable energies shall be increased in order to minimize carbon emissions and reduce the footprint. Concerning emissions, let us first have a look at water emissions. Here, first of all, a differentiation between direct and indirect discharge is necessary. For the different industry types, the respective annexes define the applicable limit values. Furthermore, requirements for the management of domestic sewage and stormwater management are defined. In the field of air emissions, a differentiation between captured emissions, for example, via stack and fugitive emissions is given. For textile manufacturer, the so-called emission factor concept is applied, which allows for a modeling of emissions as well as targeted emission reduction measures. For example, through change of chemicals used. Specific requirements apply to VOC-relevant production sites of all manufacturing categories. Other types of emissions for which requirements are defined are emissions from power generation, odor, biological hazards from cooling system emissions, emissions of ozone-depleting substances, greenhouse gases, and environmental noise emissions. Another type of emission is waste. Here, the waste management principle shall be applied. Avoid, reduce, reuse, recycle. Specific requirements are defined for the disposal of sludge from wastewater treatment and for waste incineration. The last part of the emission is about the possible contamination of soil and groundwater. The production should be set up in a way that contamination to soil and groundwater can be avoided. In case of suspected historical brownfields, investigation has to be carried out and take remedy action to restore if confirmed. In the field of occupational health and safety, physical, chemical and biological hazards shall be reduced as far as feasible. Structured and documented risk assessments allow to define priorities and improve the situation where it is most needed. Whenever measures concerning occupational health and safety are planned, the hierarchy of controls shall be regarded. This hierarchy sorts possible steps by effectiveness and level of safety. It all begins with substitution or also elimination. Here, the risk can be reduced to the biggest extent. For example, by replacing a hazardous substance or practice with a non-hazardous one. If this is not possible, technical measures or engineering controls should be evaluated. This group of measures delivers a high level of safety without being dependent on the behavior of employees. If this does not work for the specific situation or workplace, organizational measures like training or modified work schedules can help to reduce the risk. Only as the last resort, the application of personal protective equipment shall be applied, since it bears the risk of incorrect application, which would result in elevated exposure of the worker. The topic, handling and storage of hazardous materials, includes requirements for training and supervision of the correct application of personal protective equipment, training on the correct classification, collection and disposal of hazardous waste, storage concept including the evaluation of co-storage or segregation, safety labeling, and chemical inventory list. Requirements for emergency preparedness include procedures for response to potential emergency situations, regular evaluation of procedures, and training of employees, consideration of emergency situations resulting from natural hazards, such as static hazards, preparedness for major accidents. In the course of the company assessment, a rating of the performance of the production sites with regard to the Bluesign requirements is conducted. Please click the arrow to continue. The rating covers the following main areas in general: management, product stewardship, input stream management, resources, environment, OH&S and emergency preparedness, and share of Bluesign approved chemicals. Different weightings are used for chemical suppliers and manufacturers to reflect the respective priorities. Brands, which typically do not have their own production sites, nevertheless have a significant influence on the sustainability of the textile industry. Please click the arrow to continue. To reflect this, the Bluesign criteria for brands require the following measures to be implemented by the system partner brands: sustainability strategy, management system, responsible product design, minimization of own operational footprint, and supply chain management. An important principle for responsible textile production along the supply chain is the duty for active information. Please click the arrow to continue. This means that system partners must actively inform Bluesign on relevant changes, significant accidents or incidents with EHS relevance, and non-compliance of Bluesign approved components or Bluesign product. Let's have a closer look at the Bluesign chemical assessment. Please click the arrow to continue. Besides the already mentioned criteria for chemical assessment, 3 other important documents on chemical substances management are the Bluesign Black Limits List or BSBL, which contains threshold limit values for substances in chemical products, the Bluesign System Substances List or BSSL, which contains consumer safety limits for fabrics, accessories and final products, the Bluesign Restricted Substances List or RSL, a template for system partner brands to safeguard materials sourced from outside the Bluesign system. During the chemical assessment of substances and mixtures, the release to air, water, and waste, as well as the exposure of workers and the incorporation of critical substances into the final product are regarded. Hereby substance restrictions, GHS classification, additional environmental data, air emission data, occupational health and safety data, as well as valid consumer safety limits are regarded when a chemical product is assessed. This flowchart shows the different routed leading to the rating of chemicals as blue, gray or black. Now, some further information on the Bluesign criteria for converters. Please click the arrow to continue. Converters do not have their own production with chemical or physical finishing steps but have a coordinating or logistical role. Here, it is important to ensure traceability from the original manufacturer to the buyer. Bluesign encourages system partners to communicate their achievement through product labeling. Please click the arrow to continue. The Bluesign criteria for approved chemical products and articles for industrial use and commission processes compile requirements for the use of the Bluesign approved trademark in a B2B context. For example, chemical products, textile articles, accessories, or trims, and commission processes related to such Bluesign approved materials. Furthermore, it contains rules for the Bluesign Finder registration. The Bluesign criteria for Bluesign approved chemical products for end consumer use describe requirements for chemical products in a B2C context. The criteria for Bluesign product finally compiled the requirements for the labeling of a consumer product as Bluesign product in the B2C context. The principle of continual improvement also applies for the Bluesign criteria, hence a revision of these documents is carried out regularly. Please click the arrow to continue. Latest every 5 years, the complete set of criteria is revised by Bluesign Academy, including an internal and external stakeholder involvement process. The BSBL or BSSL, as well as the RSL, are subject to an annual revision. Details on the revision process are described in the Bluesign system. Thank you for completing this training session.